Ian Little wants to know, what do you think our relationship with Russia should be going forward? The left is losing their mind over the idea that Trump and his team might actually get along with Putin rather than continue the Obama-Clinton policy, which seems to swing wildly between dangerous brinksmanship and cowardly acquiescence. Where do you draw the line between understanding and accepting aspects of Russia's strategic needs while also not enabling the excessive growth of Russian influence? Great question. I suspect that when I seem to recall that Putin's first real adventure was Georgia, invasion of Georgia, during the 2008 campaign. I think Vladimir Putin is, as I've said many times, I think he's a murderer and I think he's a tyrant. But I also think that he has a superb understanding of human nature, superb ability to read people, and a absolutely cold-blooded, clear-eyed, rational understanding of just how much risk he can take based on the signals he's getting. I think he went into Georgia because he knew that Barack Obama was going to win that election. I don't think anybody had any doubt about it. I did, but I was in my little wishful thinking bubble. So, if you're Vladimir Putin and you see that there's a U.S. election going on and so on, it's a chance to get into Georgia, do some mischief, and if it turns out that either McCain wins or Obama turns out to be tougher than he looks, then okay, it happened, it's over, it's done. But you have to understand that when you're dealing with aggressive dictatorships like this, it's very much like children. It's very much like children. And I'm not saying they're childish, I'm just saying that the dynamics are pretty nearly exactly the same. Vladimir Putin, China for that matter too, are testing us, and they test us in subtle ways and sometimes not so subtle ways. So he does this invasion of Georgia. It literally is his backyard. He's got a significant concentration of forces there. We could have gone all in and knocked him out of Georgia and gone to conventional war with Russia. But he made the calculation that we wouldn't do that. And once he made the calculation that we wouldn't do that and decided to test it, where he still had an escape, right? Like as I say, if McCain wins this thing by a miracle or Obama gets tough, then he can always say, well, blah, 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 it's over and so on. But they didn't do that. So he digests that new territory, and then he starts some other provocations, starts to see whatever else he can get away with. Maybe we'll arm the rebels in Ukraine, and then maybe we'll put our tanks in the Ukraine. So he's arming the rebels. Does the United States do anything? No. He puts tanks in Ukraine. Does the United States do anything? No. Russia decides to prop up the Assad regime in Syria by military force, which they never, ever would have dared to do with George Bush as president. And so they start running a couple missions over there. And does Obama do anything? No. And the more Obama does nothing, the more Putin realizes he can literally get away with murder. China too. China's building these islands in the Pacific. They're building islands, dredging up the seabed and building islands and putting long runways for bombers on there. And then they're saying, U.S. vessels and everybody else's vessels have to maintain a 12-mile clearance zone from this territory. That I would have resolved that very easily. I would have resolved that very, very, very simply and early. When they started building those islands and it was clear what they were doing, I would have put the USS Nimitz, I would have put it right next to that island, and I would have dropped the anchor, and I would have all our sailors up on deck getting some sun and jumping around and woohooing and dashing in the water, and let these people know that no, you're not going to pull this off. You're not going to get away with this. If you think you're gonna be in for a mistake. You want to play hardball with us? You're not going to like the consequences. People say, oh my God, if you'd done that, it would cause a war. No, that's how you prevent wars. That's how you prevent wars. You make it clear to expansionist dictators that they will not get away with this without consequences. And this when I say this is all they understand, when you say something like that, people tend to think, oh, you're saying he's just a savage and a bait. No, it's not like that's all he'll understand because he's so stupid. People like Putin understand the dynamics of power not because they're stupid, but because they're very, very intelligent and very, very, I almost said entrepreneurial. They're looking for opportunities. They know where the cracks are, and they start to fill them, and they find out what actually happens. So there you go. When Putin sees, or anybody, the Chinese see that we're changing the name of like a seaman or an airman becomes an air person, whatever the hell they're trying to call these people. And we find out that that our readiness is down, but our green base is up, and all of our Pentagon generals that are being promoted are the ones that are ready to fight global warming with the U.S. military. That gives Vladimir Putin and it gives the Chinese a chance to tweak their opinion of how likely it is to get an American response. And it's funny, isn't it? To me, I think it's tragically outrageous to me. I saw something about Alexander the Second. What was that? Keith Henson says Alexander II was an ally in the Civil War. Russia can be our allies again. Yes, he was an ally in the Civil War. Alexander II also freed the Russian serfs. And Alexander II was the only genuinely reforming czar of the entire Romanov families. And for that, he was 7 assassination attempts that got him on the 7th time. Blew him up, blew his legs off in a carriage, went home to die. Anyway, if you make it clear that there will be consequences to this, they're going to still test you, obviously, because this is why I was saying it was like kids. If you eat that cookie, you're not going to get any TV tonight. I'm not kidding. I'm serious now. One more bite, and I mean it. You heard me. You heard what I said. I mean it. Now, no more cookies and no... What do you think? What do you think would happen in a case like that? That's Obama. Putin has respected Obama the same way that a small child respects a parent that doesn't set any boundaries. And the irony is that the child who's doing that game with a weak parent, is actually looking to be stopped. He wants to be stopped. He wants to have mom or dad say, all right, that's it. And you go, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I know you, yes, you did. You did mean it, and you were told not to do it, and you did it anyway, so you're going to your room, and you're not going to see Star Wars this weekend, and you're not going to see Star Wars next weekend either, and I'm taking your phone away for 2 weeks. Well, I'm so sorry, Mom. Well, you knew it. I told you. We had a very clear understanding. You did it anyway. These are the consequences for your misbehavior, so next time I tell you to do something, you'll think about doing it. And that's how you behave with people like this. I keep dancing around the thing that seems so incredible to me, and that is that Vladimir Putin, Fidel Castro, all of the Chinese oligarchs, Assad, the Iranians, Saddam, all of these people, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, all of them know how powerful we are. And the only people who don't know how powerful we are is us. We're the only people that on the planet that don't understand the power that we have. We're the only people on the planet that do not understand the overwhelming superiority of our military might and our technological expertise and our willingness to use it and our somewhat frayed but nevertheless pretty strong social structure. We're the only ones who don't know it. And so I'm sure the Iranians and Saddam, or even Saddam or Assad, and they just sat there and just said, "What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? Don't they realize?" No, they don't realize. So take what you can get while you've still got this guy in here. Whether or not Donald Trump is going to stand up to him, I suspect he will. I think the call to Taiwan was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You want to build islands out there in the Pacific? Okay, fair enough. We're going to talk about an island that you have some interest in too. Maybe we'll start sending them some advanced weapons. What do you think about that? That's smart. He's letting them know. And appointing Mad Dog Mattis to the defense secretary position is a signal to Vladimir Putin and to the Chinese and to ISIS that you've got another month to get everything you think you can. You've got a month. Because after that month, you're not getting anything, and we're going to start taking some of this stuff back. So there you go. It's I don't know. It's just I think Russia has strategic imperatives that we can't understand emotionally because of what's happened to them. It does not justify their expansion. It doesn't justify their invasions. It doesn't justify any of this. It doesn't justify it. But if you don't understand it, none of this will make sense. So how do you give the Russians a sense of security that doesn't impose Russian hegemony over Poland and the Ukraine and Crimea? How do you how do you do that? How do you get this sort of societal genetic fear of encirclement to at least be reduced without caving in? Well, there's ways to do that, but at least then you understand the problem, right? Nobody understands the problem. The reset button, please, Hillary Clinton. Would you just shovel off into the darkness? And is there any more disgracefulness that you haven't accomplished yet? She's actually, I think we're going to find Hillary Clinton under a bridge someplace. That's be the last picture we have of her. She'll be under an overpass just with a bottle of, Ripple next to her, MD 2020 or something, and she's going to be. That's how we're going to see her last. And Keith says Russia's the secret to future peace. I think that may be true. I don't see, and this is just a very broad view of things, but I don't see any particular conflicts with Russia going forward. I do see them with China. I certainly see them with the Muslim world, but I don't see them with Russia. I think we have more in common than if there were three great powers in the world right now: China, Russia, and the United States. Russia and the United States are the two who are the most compatible potential allies, and the two that have the least friction in terms of what they want. Trust but verify. If it turned out they were actual honest-to-God allies after a long period of trust but verify, you would find very valuable people to have on your side. And why not have them on your side? I think the question you asked is actually really important, Ian, because the progressives are terrified that we actually will become much better friends with them. Hillary Clinton can translate one word into Russian with the reset button. They go stomping around the Middle East, just knocking things over and smashing things, and slap all these sanctions on Russia, which are effective. They're very effective. I have some inside information about how, and I don't mean military intelligence, I just know what it's like from a fiance who lived in Russia, that these sanctions are causing the entire Russian economy to shut down. So yes, they're very effective. So the question is, okay, so they're effective, but what is the goal? In other words, if you punish somebody and they're taking the punishment and they continue to take the punishment, what are you punishing them for? If you can connect the removal of the punishment to the kind of behaviors we want to see, then that's just smart. That's just diplomacy. But just to whack it on them and just wait till they're ready to go with war with you, or you go to war with them because you need some street cred, we came, we saw, he died kind of thing. It's just madness. I think things are going to get much better over there. And this guy's an oil guy. He has ties to Russia. If it had been Barack Obama who had appointed a diplomat who had worked in the Soviet embassy or something here in the United States, they would be over the moon with how brilliant it was. If you're going to appoint a Secretary of State, let's have a guy who knows. If he's an international oil man and he does nothing but negotiate with foreign governments for oil, then have him negotiate with foreign governments for the United States. He knows what he's doing. I guarantee you this guy is smarter than Hillary Clinton and John Kerry and Barack Obama combined.